Xenosphylla cheopis, and it's more commonly known as the oriental rat flea or the tropical rat flea.
Okay, my name is Ryan Reynolds. I'm going to be arguing the case of the Anopheles gambiae, common mosquito. And I'm going to be fighting for the side that it is the biggest danger to humans.
All right, our debate topic is which is more dangerous to humans. And mine is an antipod. It is a parasite to rodents such as rats, but may drink the blood of any mammal. The oriental rat flea usually inhabits tropical and subtropical habitats, although it has been reported in the temperate zone as well. The biology, the fleas are about 1.5 to 4 millimeters long and are wingless like all fleas are. Adults vary from light brown to dark brown in order to camouflage themselves in the host's fur. Males and females are sexually dimorphic, which means there are visible differences between the two. Females have dark-colored spermatheca that resembles small sacs, a distinguishing characteristic. Males have complex genitalia that are easily distinguishable from the females. Larvae are 4.5 millimeters long and are slender white eyeless worms. During the last larval instar, they molt and form cocoons that are silky and covered in debris from surroundings. The impact to human society and life history. The oriental flea is responsible for the death of what is estimated to be over 2/3 of the population of Europe. The Yersinia pestis bacterium is spread by the oriental flea. This bacterium caused the Black Death. The Black Death was a plague that spread from Mongolian Empire through trade routes in the Silk Road to Europe. These deadly fleas were carried on the rats that lived in the ships carrying goods for trade. The rat colonies usually died within 14 days, meaning the flea would have to find another host to feed on, and that was humans. The fleas would travel on clothes or bedding or in the hair of a temporary human host, biting and infecting the human until they found another rat to latch onto. The fleas spread by human movement and rat movement, making it nearly impossible to stop with the medical and scientific knowledge people had at that time. It is estimated that around 60 million people died in the Black Death. This is twice the number of people murdered by Stalin's regime. It was in 1346 to 1353 when the plague ended, finally in the middle of the 13th century. The behavior, they're parasitic, and they also carry typhus. And collectively, the bubonic plague has killed over 200 million people in many countries to this day, until the discovery of antibiotics recently. The digestive system of an infected flea can become blocked by rapid reproduction of the bacteria, causing the flea to bite repeatedly in an attempt to avoid starvation. This flea is also responsible for carrying the bacterium that causes typhus fever, more commonly known as jail fever. Typhus is very contagious and has also killed many millions of people in epidemics.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the mosquito. Basically, there's the Anopheles gambiae, would be the specific species in question here. There are 8 sibling species in this complex. All of them are morphologically indistinguishable. However, the one in question here is the only one that only feeds on humans, making it possibly the most dangerous of all mosquitoes as is. These mosquitoes are, in fact, statistically the most deadly animal to humans, according to the World Health Organization. They kill 1 million people every year. Malaria being the #1 disease, the most deadly one that they contract. These mosquitoes are mostly found in tropical Africa, all the way through Madagascar, the whole sub-Saharan region. They like the hot tropical regions where they flourish the most. Because they are small flying insects with basically syringes built in, they're pretty much the optimal vectors for any disease to humans. Malaria will cause fever, chills, flu-like symptoms, and untreated can definitely lead to death. This is prevalent mostly in Africa, but there's still some 1,500 deaths in the US every year too. Recently, though, one of the big impacts with this is that the mosquito species have traveled to Brazil, I believe, in 1930. And since then, they've flourished and built. The whole Brazilian temperature is pretty similar to Africa, and they're causing massive damage in a 33,000 square, causing what, something 1,600 lives and $3 billion US worth of damage. Mostly for these reasons and because of malaria specifically, this is why the mosquito is the most dangerous insect.
All right. Okay. Both the mosquito and the flea will feed on humans, and both carry life-threatening diseases. Both prefer tropical climates, which is the majority of the planet. Both species are sexually dimorphic, and both species can be infected with diseases that have been killing people for centuries. To date, the bubonic plague kills around 2,000 people a year around the world. About 9 of those deaths are in the US. The bubonic plague can be considered more deadly because there are very few preventative measures that can be taken to protect against being bit by one of the fleas. The only way to prevent yourself from contracting this disease is to avoid flea-carrying rodents and exterminate the rodents if you know in advance that there's an infestation. The likelihood of contracting malaria can be greatly reduced by wearing protective garments like clothing or wearing mosquito spray or sleeping under a net. There are many preventative measures that can be taken to avoid contracting malaria, but to date, there's not many preventative measures that you can take to prevent yourself from catching the bubonic plague if you have to be in close contact with rodents.
Okay, definitely some good points for why the flea is still in this running here. Basically, the anti-malarial meds in question here cannot be 100% guaranteed effective. That being said, mosquitoes are nocturnal, so even if you do have the treatments there, you have to protect yourself while you're asleep. Any mosquito net requires permethrin and DEET repellents, and even all that could still fail no matter how much clothes and protective wear and nets and sheeting you do have. Looking at the flea, though, I pose the question of whether these are still relevant with the bubonic plague not seeming like a big deal anymore. I think it's hard to compare 1 million deaths from mosquitoes to the 2,000 deaths per year of the flea. The knowledge and science and the medical field has grown so much through the time. I could pretty much say that the Black Death is old news compared to malaria.
Right. The Black Death may not be as deadly today as it was in the middle of the 13th century, but typhus is still a major issue in countries with poor sanitation and poor diets. Fleas are also known as vectors of warring typhus or endemic typhus, and they play a key role in the transmission of rural epidemic typhus in the USA as well. In recent years, the flea-borne spotted fever agent, endemic typhus, has emerged and can be found all throughout the world. Fleas have also been proven to harbor and sometimes transmit Bartonella, including Bartonella henselae, the agent of cat scratch disease. All of these diseases are major issues in developing countries and to developing babies. This specific species of flea has evolved to be immune to insecticides, making eradication nearly impossible. Methods such as fogging and exterminators have proven to be effective if they spray nightly or daily in reducing populations of mosquitoes, making them less of a threat, but there haven't been any preventative methods like insecticides that have completely killed the populations of fleas to this day.
Okay, let's see, kind of got the lead off. Yeah, it's true that there's fawning going on for mosquitoes that can kind of stop the spread and the growth. But even mosquitoes do grow resistant to these insecticides and other chemicals, especially with one species in particular being the ones that attack humans. They can vary and kind of genetically mutate through that. It's definitely hard to destroy a population of mosquitoes because of their fast life cycle of 2 weeks to a month. When they reproduce, they lay their eggs in stagnant ponds and puddles of water that can be found pretty much anywhere. With that, these aquatic larvae are almost impossible to find and even harder to kill. That always gives this potential for thousands of mosquitoes to come up from any one given spot, leading to any number of epidemics throughout, any tropical region, whether it be Brazil or Africa or even here in America, where there are stagnant puddles everywhere.
All right, and I'll start with my closing statement. Collectively, the Black Plague is remembered as the most catastrophic epidemic in the history of the world. It killed twice as many people as Stalin's regime and more people than all of World War II. Typhus is also an issue that many countries still struggle with to this day, and cat scratch disease as well. There is no way to prevent the spread of these fleas because they have developed immunities to every insecticide that entomologists and scientists have tried to use on them to reduce populations. Although the bubonic plague took a huge toll on the human populations in Europe, it did have one positive impact, and that was social reform that was long overdue during the feudal ages. It is important to study the oriental fleas so that entomologists may one day find a way to wipe out this species, because there's really no positive side to them existing. They're parasites, they're annoying, they bite, and they kill people. So if a cure is found to the bubonic plague or typhus, then this knowledge could be applied to research in other areas of disease prevention and treatment methods.
For my closing statement about the mosquitoes here, I'm going to discuss that there is no 100% preventable prevention for malaria. Antibacterials can only do so much, and they can only slow the disease and will not actually treat it. I keep going back to my biggest point, is that these mosquitoes are little flying syringes that carry these diseases of all different kinds, from malaria to yellow fever and just different things that maybe aren't as important as malaria, but will have the same effect. The one species of the Anopheles gambia complex that only feeds on humans makes it definitely easy to research this specific one, though it is hard to pinpoint them because they are morphologically similar to all of the other ones in the complex. But this research does help in finding out how insecticides and resistances kind of coincide with each other. Overall, the mosquitoes are definitely the most important animal/insect towards human danger, just because they are the #1 killer in the world. All right, and I guess that about wraps it up. Giggle.